Hello everyone. So today we're going to learn about patrons. A patron is someone who supports an artist financially. Okay, so an artist cannot earn a living by just painting. If they don't sell their art, then they cannot make art. One of the greatest patrons of the Renaissance era was this guy named Lorenzo Medici. Now, the Medici family was a very, very wealthy family who were known for being patrons of the arts. And it made them very popular with the public by paying for all of these paintings and sculptures to be created and to be spread throughout the city for the public's enjoyment. Lorenzo was known as Lorenzo the Magnificent. He was a politician as well as a patron, and he financed the works of poets, philosophers, and artists. And yes, one of the things you'll probably notice is that he's known for his really, really big nose. Okay, so the next thing we're going to learn about today is humanism. Okay, there are two parts to this word. You are going to notice the word ism, which ism means philosophy or the philosophy of, and the word human, which means human. So basically, humanism is human philosophy. It's the study of a man's ability to improve the quality of life on earth by studying the classics. Okay? It's a movement focused on worldly subjects instead of just religious issues. During the Middle Ages, the only thing that was really discussed was religious literature, religious art, because that's something that the Catholic Church supported. And during the Renaissance era, people started thinking, maybe we should look at other things such as grammar, rhetoric, poetry, and our past history, not just things pertaining to religion or the Catholic Church. So humanism, the study of humans. Okay, so the next thing you really need to know in order to understand the Renaissance is, what is a city-state? Because the biggest supporters of the Renaissance era were places that were city-states. So, what is a city-state? A city-state consists of a city and the surrounding area, and it is ruled independently. Okay, it's not ruled by a king or a queen. It's not ruled by the head of a country. Okay, the city rules itself. Okay? So, now that we understand what a city-state is, how are city-states governed? The governments of Italian city-states came in two forms. There was the Signora. It's also known as the Principality, but we won't call it that. And republicanism. Now, the Signora is a type of government that is ruled by one very powerful family. That very powerful family is very wealthy, it's very rich, and they control the government. They make the laws, and the leader of that family is called a signore. Okay, and they are also sometimes called a prince. City-states that were ruled by the system of republicanism were controlled by a group of powerful families that came together to rule a city in unison. They created the laws together and they worked together to govern a city. Okay, so let's first look deeper into the Signora. Many Italian city-states in the late 1200s suffered from internal conflicts. Various groups often fought each other in an attempt to gain power. And these groups were usually very wealthy families. And when it talks about internal conflicts, it usually involves a lot of murder. A strong family sometimes defeated their opposition and established a signora. Although the establishment of a signora usually ended the conflict within a city-state, average citizens had very little say in the government. So while the one wealthy, noble family in the city could make the laws and make judgments, the ordinary citizen had no say in what happened in the day-to-day life of the government. The Signore had the power to control most aspects of the government, including passing the laws and choosing a successor. The Signora was often established in cities such as Milan, Verona, and Padua. These cities had many artisans and farmers, but they didn't have many very wealthy and other powerful families, which made it very easy to be controlled by one family. Okay, now let's talk about republicanism. In a republic, a group of wealthy families ruled together. In the city of Venice, wealthy families formed a great council that consisted of about 1,000 members of the upper class. Okay, these members of the Great Council, or nobles, elected representatives to the Senate and the Council of 10. You could not be elected to the Senate or the Council of 10 unless you were one of those nobles living in the city. All of the candidates, once again, as I just said, were from the Great Council. The Republic of Venice was a closed system. No one outside of the Great Council could play a role in the government. So let's say you were just a merchant or a farmer. You could not have any say in the local government. That was something that only the most wealthy families could do. Okay. In Florence, the wealthy families set up a group called the Popolo, which consisted of members of the elite class, such as wealthy merchants. So very similar to the nobility of the Great Council, but a little bit different. The Popolo elected 6 members of their group to serve as a supreme magistrate of Florence. Now, a magistrate is kind of like a judge, someone who controls laws of a city or a country. In reality, the Popolo Grazio, which literally means fat people, held the most power. The Popolo Grazio included extremely wealthy bankers and merchants, such as the Medici family. Now, one of the reasons they call them the fat people was because being overweight, especially obese, was a sign of nobility and wealth. The fatter you are, the higher status you had in society.